Hello, everybody. I'm your host, George Salazar. Welcome back to Season 2 of La Carnita Asada. I'm here with Little Village native and U.S. Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia. How's it going, Chuy? Good morning.
It's good. A little cloudy this morning.
Yeah, a little ugly outside.
All good. And
yeah. So how's your past week been? Anything new?
Busy. I've been home all week from Congress. We got a week's worth of break.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been throughout the district visiting with leaders, with nonprofit organizations, government leaders as well, just taking stock of all the needs and what people want to see happen in the district. We're going back to Washington, where some heavy-duty items await our return. Questions of war and peace. The Ukraine war, there's a thrust to continue to support Ukraine in its fight against the Russian aggression. The Middle East and the conflict in Gaza between Israel, who has been bombarding massively everything in Gaza, and as if that weren't heart-wrenching, Taiwan, another request for military support of Taiwan, and then finally the border crisis, the large surge of migrants seeking political asylum from Venezuela, from Cuba, from other countries as well. And then, of course, the migrant crisis in Chicago, the arrivals of about 35,000 people here, which is very challenging to the city, about housing people, providing food and shelter, and then things like work permits. So it's going to be quite a week in Washington.
Yeah, sounds very, very busy. So baseball just started back up for me at my school. I play at a community college in Des Plaines. I was going to tell you a little bit about my week, but I mean, just compared to yours, it doesn't seem as busy.
Yeah, but baseball's good.
No, yeah.
I want to hear a little bit.
No, it's a lot of guys, a lot of new transfers, right? So guys worried about spots. I'm just trying to stay focused and just grind. And coach has been like running us a lot and trying to see who's conditioned and who's ready and who's not. It's very do or die now. It's like you either got to perform or it's kind of time to figure out and do something else with your life, right?
All right.
So it's very exciting. But
training is beginning in January.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's a grind. But tell me a little bit about young Chuy growing up.
So I moved to Little Village with my parents. I was 13, 14 years old, about to graduate from 8th grade in Pilsen. We used to call it 18th Street back in the day. And moving to Little Village was a step in upward mobility, you might say. Many people who lived in Pilsen then, their parents were buying their first home ever, moving to Little Village. There was a little more greenery in backyards. And I moved here in 1969. I have lived here ever since. This is my community of choice. I live right near 26th Street, and I grew up in Little Village seeing the community change from a predominantly Bohemian community, Czechs and Poles and folks from Central Europe, to a majority Mexican, Latino, very immigrant neighborhood. So I've seen the changes, many changes occur over that time. It's been a great place to grow up in, to see the city change and evolve, and the world as well. Keeping a close relationship with Mexico, I think it's one of the unique experiences of living in a neighborhood like Little Village. And meeting my wife here, my girlfriend in 1974, met her at the Tolman Library at 27th and Pulaski. My first kiss was at Petrovsky Park in the back, where it's shady, and many fond memories. I've raised 3 children here, and I now have 7 grandchildren, including 3 who live in Little Village and others who are nearby, 2 in Minneapolis. So it's great to remain in the neighborhood, to see all the changes, and to hear people say, "You still live in Little Village? Why?" I always enjoy answering that question. But this is a great neighborhood, and it's got a lot of vitality and continues to be my neighborhood of choice.
No, I like that. I agree. I have the same kind of mindset, like talking with friends or even like my parents, telling them like all these big dreams that I have. And, and one thing always remains like the same or true is like, I want to still stay here in Little Village because I have like a passion, to help out my community. And I think it's a beautiful community. Just like any other community, we have our ups and downs, but I love being here and I don't really see myself living anywhere else. Like, of course I want to visit, the world, but I don't want to like live anywhere else.
And I enjoy the Mexican Independence Day weekend.
Yeah.
When people come to Little Village, folks that have moved out or their parents or their grandparents moved out and they come back here because it's home. Yeah. And they feel good and they feel proud and they want to enjoy what is here. And also for special events like Via Palooza or the marathons on 26th Street. And of course, I like to show off the things that the community has won for itself. New schools, library, the Little Village Lawndale High School, and of course, many other assets. And of course, the vitality on 26th Street with so many family-owned businesses. It really underscores that our community is a builder, hardworking, studying, youthful, and part of a bright future for the neighborhood, the city, and the country. And of course, our special relationship with Mexico.
Yeah, I agree. So we've talked about, you said changes you've witnessed being here in Little Village, and you also talked about some, fond memories, meeting your girlfriend or your wife. Can you tell me a little bit about like the challenges growing up here in Little Village, or even challenges that you face now?
Yeah, it's been challenging for young people growing up in Little Village because we've had to fight to improve the quality of life and opportunities for young people, and it remains a challenge even today. But the building of new schools, the renovation of new schools, playgrounds, the fight for Little Village Lawndale High School, the struggle to make Farragut a better school, addressing the conditions that create gangs and gang violence and conflict, the loss of so many young people, many innocents who have been victims of gang-related conflict, I say, are among the biggest issues that caused many young people over many years to drop out of school, girls to become pregnant. Domestic violence has been an issue for a long time. And just the lack of places or spaces, safe spaces for young people to hang out in, to enjoy music, to enjoy dance, to enjoy what you all call spoken word. We used to call it poetry back in the day, and assistance programs for young people to thrive in. We've made a lot of progress, and leaders and organizations creating more of these resources for young people. We still have a much longer way to go, but these have been some of the issues, some of the challenges that many young people have grown up in. And it's also, frankly, what drove many parents to want to move out of the neighborhood to places where they thought and they hoped would be safer places to raise a family, their children to be able to go to school and to be able to play outside without danger around them. That's historically what the narrative has been. I've seen a great improvement, many more resources, nonprofit organizations working collaboratively, knowing that these are complicated issues, and only when we band together and collaborate together can we improve the quality of life for everyone, for young people, for children, for youth, and for parents. And I think people have come to appreciate that only when we work together do we stand a shot at improving that quality of life.
No, I agree with that. My whole family grew up in Little Village, so I even have some family members who fell victim to what you were talking about, the streets or gangs. And I feel like nowadays you definitely see a lot more like nonprofits or even just like safe spaces like the Boys and Girls Club that you can go to or kids can go to, and it's really just a matter of like keeping kids off the streets, whatever by whatever means, right?
Yeah.
Whether that kid likes to play the piano, sing, play a sport, everybody thinks it's just sports. Like he may like to read, like you don't know, whatever that kid likes to do. Dance, exactly. Like
Yes, yeah.
you should exactly, yeah. You should have a space to go to and have peers who are interested in the same thing. Because when kids get bored, I feel like that's dangerous because then they wander off into the streets and they think that's a game, or you know what I mean. So I definitely feel like we have a lot more just like supporting people in the neighborhood now. What sparked your interest in politics?
I arrived in Chicago as a young boy, about to turn 10 in February of 1965.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very tumultuous period in U.S. history and Chicago's history, coming right on the heels of the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was an enormous achievement for justice and equality, especially for people of color, led primarily by African Americans, but benefiting many people, including Latinos, including women, people who had been discriminated against in our society for a long time. 1965, shortly after I arrived, the U.S. Congress passed the Voting Rights Act. And the Voting Rights Act is one of those civil rights pieces of legislation that has been a great tool for advancement and empowerment for our community. It's part of the reason why Latinos, Mexicanos, Puerto Ricanos, others have been elected to Chicago City Council, to the state legislature, to be decision makers, to be policy makers, and to have a voice in the government of the city, the county, the state, and later the national government. So I arrived then, and there was also great conflict in society in the U.S. with the Vietnam War going on, the loss of many lives, the terrible bombings that took place in Southeast Asia and Vietnam, in Laos, in Cambodia, etc. And there was a big anti-war movement, along with other social movements like the movement for Black Power, the movement for recognition of Mexican Americans, the United Farm Workers led by Cesar Chavez, for example, and then the emergence of groups like the Black Panthers in the Latino community, in the Mexican community, the Brown Berets. There were student movements all over California, including some in Chicago around that time, that wanted change in public schools in Chicago. They wanted Latino studies or Chicano studies or Mexican studies. They wanted more access to the University of Illinois. They wanted to see more students there. They wanted to see faculty whose last names were Salazar or Gutierrez or Garcia, leading the instruction of those communities. And there was one person who had a big impact on my life, and that was Dr. Martin Luther King and his speeches and sermons. I grew up on 18th Street listening to soul music in predominantly Black radio stations, and a lot of the news and happenings in the Black community I grew up listening to. So I was moved to become someone active in social justice, in bringing about social change, and in the struggle for peace. I became an opponent of the war in Vietnam. And of course, I was also very moved by leaders like Cesar Chavez and the Brown Berets and other neighborhood activists, like at places like Casa Slan, El Centro de la Causa, in the Pilsen community. And that's what informed who I would become and the choice that I would make in life to become active in the community, to become an organizer and someone who was striving for social change. So I was very fortunate to be exposed to all of those changes and those struggles and those conflicts that were going on in the 1960s. They've impacted what I chose to do in life, and subsequently my career in community organizing, community building, and subsequently into politics.
After your third term as Illinois State Senator, you decided to take a break from politics. Can you walk us through that decision?
Yeah, so I've had the privilege of being the first Latino, the first Mexican alderman in Little Village.
Yeah.
Shortly after I was elected, I had the arch, working with the Little Village Chamber of Commerce and other people in the neighborhood, constructed the Little Village Arch, which has become a symbol of the neighborhood. I also, just 7 years later, had the opportunity, because of the Voting Rights Act, coming back to 1965, to become the first Mexicano, the first immigrant elected to the Illinois State Senate as well, where I served 2 terms. And then I lost my first election. I was undefeated at that time with 10 wins and 0 losses, and I experienced my first loss, which was a wake-up call. It was an opportunity for me to think about what I wanted to continue doing to contribute to the community's advancement and development. And so I decided to dedicate my new life, my new start in life, post-politics, into building an organization in Little Village, Enlace. And I was there for 9 years old. For 9 years, growing that organization and helping it flourish. So it was that loss that enabled me to make that transition to go back to school. I had a dark secret in my life up to that point, which was that I didn't have my bachelor's degree, even though I had been at UIC for a number of years, much more than 4 years, because I was busy doing other things. So the first thing that I did after I experienced my first loss in politics was go back to school. I finished my BA. I sat in a classroom with people like you. I was the oldest one in the classroom. I did my time, and I completed my 2 incompletes. I got my bachelor's degree, and I went directly to the master's program in urban planning at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I completed it while working full-time in a period of 3 years. I was very proud when my mother, who was still alive then, was at my graduation. I wore my cap and gown. I was a happy camper, and it was making up and doing those things that you kind of put on hold that you always want to achieve, because you want to be able to tell your children that, you practice what you preach. Go to school, try to get good grades, be involved, make a difference in the community. I had a chance to do that. So it really allowed me to recharge my batteries, to think about community organizing, community development, what kinds of things we needed to bring to Little Village, what kinds of things we need to bring to other communities to make them good places for everyone, for little children, for youth, for parents, for the elderly as well. Everyone has needs, and when you think about what makes a good, healthy community for everyone, that's where you engage everyone in the community to get their input about what makes a good community. So it was the most rewarding, most challenging job that I have had, and one that enabled me to continue to work in Little Village. I could walk to my job, though I would drive sometimes. I could bike there, and I would be on most of the blocks throughout Little Village. And I also got to develop a large network with other community organizers and builders across Chicagoland.
So was politics always in the question again? Like, was that always your plan to try to become a community leader for a little bit and then sort of get back into the swing of things?
No, I was perfectly happy. I did not miss government or politics. I never looked back. I never said, man, I wish I were back in Springfield or in City Hall. I was totally involved in the work that I was doing and never thought about running again until about 11 years after doing that work, when I slipped on a banana peel and ran for office to the Cook County Board. And of course, that set off another chain of events that has led me to Congress.
So as a founder of a nonprofit, yourself, what's some advice you'd give to us here at the Urban Warriors on how to sort of grow? Because we're going in our second year, so we're facing a lot of challenges with expanding and getting people to know about the program.
Yes. First of all, let me thank you for undertaking the building and the growing of Urban Warriors. We need more organizations to embark in this field to improve the quality of life, to create opportunities, to inspire young people to excel in whatever makes them tick, whatever turns them on, whatever they aspire to, whether it's music or dance or being writers or being scientists or other professionals in medicine, accountant, whatever. Helping them get their schooling, their professional training is really, really critical. And I think what you guys are investing in building is very important. One, be thoughtful. Don't do any things that you might regret later. So be thoughtful about it. Stick to your guns. If there are policies that Urban Warriors wants to pursue, don't let anyone stop you. If there are policies that you want to change, by all means, change them. That's a part of the contribution and the development of ideas and visions for the future in the community. Develop relationships with other organizations. One of the most important experiences I gained from my work here in Little Village as a nonprofit leader was the acknowledgement that no single organization had the wherewithal, the resources, the relationships, the knowledge to improve life for young people and for families, for reducing the level of shootings and killings and conflict in the community. That in order to do that, we needed everyone to pull together. We needed the people that provide home daycare for children to be a part of that. We needed healthcare professionals and people who work in the area of public health to be at the table. We needed spiritual leaders from whatever denomination the churches are to be at the table. We needed women to teach us about domestic violence and the life that they experience in the community. We needed professionals who had relationships with foundations, with business people that we could approach for donating, for investing in the community. We needed to have a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce to talk about 26th Street, to talk about the small businesses in the community. Small businesses can be an important ally in creating opportunities for young people, giving them job opportunities, helping, having them intern with them to see how a small business is run, what it takes. We needed restaurants to be our allies as well, to give us food, to provide, to sponsor events. So that's how you create allies and relationships that will advance the community. So I think those are some of the most important things in building a nonprofit whose mission is to improve the lives of young people and to help them excel in the future. You need a lot of allies while you focus in on those things that will be unique to urban warriors.
You got that? You're back there taking notes, hopefully. So the word politician, or the title, it's something that, I mean, I have all types of friends and, people, different people that I grew up around in the community, right? And a lot of them don't really believe that, politicians are here to do good, or think a lot of them are corrupt, dirty, whatever the case may be. They don't have the best interests for the people who actually live in these communities. What's something that you could tell us about your work that may be able to change that perception?
Yeah, first of all, I think there's good reason why people feel that way, young people in particular. Chicago has a history and a reputation of being a very corrupt place for politics. Illinois, the same. And at the national level, you see the role of big money controlling what happens or what doesn't happen in Congress. So that criticism is well-founded and rooted. Nevertheless, if you want to make change in your community, in your city, in your state, and certainly nationally, on things like climate change, talking about global things, right, where we all need to work at it, countries need to work at it collaboratively in order to be effective. The national government has an important role, but if you want to impact how your tax dollars, for example, are spent, how they're utilized, how they're invested, whether it's in a neighborhood, at the city level, or the state, you got to be at the table. And the only way to get to the table is by becoming a player, an actor, a participant in that process. I want people, especially young people, to appreciate that our struggle for being at the table in government, in politics, in decision-making came about as a result of a fight to replace the old machine that used to be Chicago politics, that was known for corruption, for racism and the exclusion of communities of color, and the exclusion of women, sexism. Those were the three pillars of the machine. We fought against that machine and those features of the machine, and believed that we replaced it with better politics, better government, more accountable, more transparent, and above everything, empowering of a community that had been discriminated and excluded for a long time. We still have more work to do in that regard, but it's important that if you see something you don't like, change it. Don't just criticize it, though the criticism is valid. It's a part of what we call the public discourse. It needs to be acknowledged, but it also needs to be changed, and transformation needs to happen. That's why a part of the work that I've focused on for the last decade has been interesting young people in government, in politics, and preparing them to run for office, but preparing other young people to be experts in the field for better politics, for better government, for empowerment of the community, and for bringing resources and investment in the things that make our lives, everyone's lives, better. And as a result, we've elected younger, more forward-thinking people to the Chicago City Council, to Cook County government, to the state legislature, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, to the places like the Water Reclamation District as well, and even to the U.S. Congress, where I now have a colleague from the north side, another Latina, progressive. All of this has been part of a 40-plus year struggle to make it happen. Just like in Mexico, people finally made changes that threw out one of the most corrupt and dictatorial governments ever that ran for over 70 years, had control of the country. Change is happening. So it is happening in Chicago, Illinois, and across the country. So if you don't like something, change it.
I like that. I agree with you. I feel like a lot of people in our community just kind of complain or talk crap about, the people who are in charge, but don't take initiative on their own to kind of go out and change something. And that's unfair.
Fun fact to know, the person that I replaced as alderman of this district, alderperson, didn't even live in the ward, in the 22nd ward in Little Village. His mom lived there. He was registered to vote there, but he was living in North Riverside. That's the type of thing that happens when a community isn't empowered and doesn't have accountability over its leaders.
Yeah, I agree. So, you've been a part of, both winning and losing campaigns, right? And
yes,
just like, in baseball or sports that we play, you take some W's, you take some L's, but you got to kind of walk off the field with your head high and, just get ready for what's to come next. What's something that you've sort of learned from winning and losing in your career?
Winning has been an honor. It has been quite a privilege to be able to be elected alderman at the age of 28 here in Little Village, going into a school, elementary school or high school auditorium, and talking to the young people, the children, the kids, the youth in the community about how it happened, a sense of pride, and the work at hand. Because it's nice to win, it's nice to have the recognition, but it's really important to know that once you have a breakthrough, it really means more work and bringing and reaching out to other people who have ideas, who have talent and ganas, the desire to make good things happen. So I've had those honors in being the first alderman, Mexicano, in the neighborhood here in Little Village, the first state senator as well, and the first Mexican immigrant in Congress from the Midwest as well. So those are all exciting things, something that I've seen makes people feel good, gives them a sense of hope and optimism for the future. It does mean more work. Losing what you get out of a loss depends on how you process. You may have played really well in a baseball game, gotten 3 hits, gotten extra base hits, did a really good slide, or made some great catches in the field that prevented the other team from scoring, and you still might come up short and lose because overall on your team, it wasn't happening. When I lost my first election, I felt bad. I was kind of dejected, but very soon thereafter, I felt a sense of liberation, a sense of freedom, a sense that now I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I took advantage of it by going back to school, by learning from that, and by recognizing that there was a whole new world where I could make a difference, I could feel good about, I could build, I could develop new relationships, and develop some new abilities and new talents that I had, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that. What were some of those abilities and talents? I got my BA after 25 years. It took me 25 years to become a college graduate. I could never put on my resume, graduated from the University of Illinois. But when I graduated, bam, I finally got to write that in my resume. And then I got my master's degree. That felt really good. I learned a whole lot about urban planning and the city and neighborhood planning and how you can improve your community. And then the new relationships that I got to build with just outstanding people in the neighborhood who wanted to see good things happen. It's how and then in 2005, Little Village Lawndale High School came about. It was a beautiful fight. It showed what this community had. It showed resolve. And we made some politicians tremble and forced them to build the high school. And that was a wonderful thing. So that's how a loss becomes a win. You incorporate the lessons and you figure out new ways to make good things happen.
No, yeah, because it sucks. Losing isn't fun. Winning's fun, but you have to lose. As a competitor, you don't want to. It hurts the ego. But I feel like you always get more from it, and you always learn from it, which is a good thing. Which you have to learn to be, grateful for.
And the best loss is the one that makes you a better person in the end.
I agree. Let's talk a little bit about your mayor runs. Because I voted for you. What's something you would do differently? Looking back at your past campaigns?
In 2015, when I ran against Rahm Emanuel and forced the first runoff in the city's history, after that primary win, we got outmatched very quickly and in a big way by the incumbent mayor, Rahm Emanuel. And he had access to lots of money, given all of the relationships that he had, and to people in high places, like President Barack Obama. So after that victory on primary night, we were not ready to raise money that quickly and be able to counteract what Rahm Emanuel had, which was to bring in Barack Obama, the first black president in the country, who came from Chicago, revered and loved by folks in Chicago, especially in the black community. So he came one day, and by the time in the morning, and by the time he took off from O'Hare Airport, there were these beautiful glossy ads running on every TV outlet, on radio, digital ads, with Barack Obama putting his arm around Rahm Emanuel. It was hard to equal that. In addition to that, they began running a series of attack ads, negative ads, saying that Chuy Garcia was not equipped to lead the city, especially on finance issues that the city would be facing in the coming years. Having that much access to those types of influencers like Barack Obama and access to money and politics made a big difference, and it was very hard to stem the tide from that point on. In the 2020 election, in the 2023 election, a different set of circumstances. I think because it was a multiple candidate race, it was really tough. The incumbent mayor, Lori Lightfoot, ran a series of attack ads again. Around $1 million was spent attacking me, which provided the opportunity for Brandon Johnson to go unchallenged, candidate Brandon Johnson, Commissioner Johnson, at that time. And given that dynamic, he wound up winning a plurality of votes and being in the runoff against Paul Vallis. It was a different set of circumstances, but again, you learn from them and you keep pressing forward. I have no doubt that in the near future, there will be a Latino or Latina mayor elected in Chicago and leading the city, without a doubt. And that these runs will have been an important experience for the community to become savvier about electoral participation and building coalitions effectively to win in the future.
So is that something that's like out of your cards now? Like you wouldn't consider running for mayor again? Because you said you want a Latino or Latina mayor, but you didn't necessarily say yourself.
That's right. I've got my work to do in Congress right now. We're trying to bring more resources to Chicago to address the migrant challenge that we're having here. We're locking horns with President Biden and the White House to make that happen. We're trying to address the larger issue of migration from Latin America, especially from South America, and why people are coming here. And then we've got other critical issues like, the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, and over 25,000 people have been killed there, so much destruction. Those are big issues that need to be addressed. I'm focused on that. But in the future, I have no doubt that our community will continue to be a growing force in politics. I want our influence in politics to play a positive role. I want us to be a part of bringing solutions to the table. And I want us to be exemplary in building coalitions and how we treat other people as well. To be respectful, to be empowering, but to also be mindful that policy solutions need to be inclusive of everyone.
So how does, because from speaking to you so far, you're a very busy man, and you're talking to me a lot about history and what's inspired you, and like you have my brain running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and like for you to just kind of have all of this in your mind, how does that sort of affect you, like when you go home? How does it affect your personal life? Do you find it hard to sort of find free time, or go out with the wife, or, just do family stuff?
Yeah, it's challenging. Being involved in politics and in government, I have some regrets about how I've used my time. I think that I could have been a better father if I had gone to more baseball games with my kids instead of my wife being the person that did so much of that. I went to their school events. I tried to be the best father that I could, but I was also very driven to want to be everywhere, wherever things were happening in the community. Probably stayed at events longer than I should have. But those are the things that you learn with time. By making those decisions, I'm now in a position to share with young people how to consider a better balance of their time for other things and for self-care. It's really important that if you're going to be in a line of work that is stressful, that you take care of yourself, that you protect yourself, that you work out, you do exercise, that you eat well and don't just eat whatever is available or junk food, that you take time to be with your friends and your family as well. So having good balance is important. I've seen people, not just in politics, but in nonprofit sector or in business, burn out because they go full throttle at something and then they crash because they're not living a good balanced life. So balance is important in everything, certainly in politics with all the stress of politics. So just being able to take some time and to recharge the batteries, to reflect on things is really, really important. And as long as you have a family and a good ability to be with your family, that will always charge your batteries and help you do a better job in whatever you're doing.
So after knowing all that, you're talking about, you wish you could have been a better father, a better husband. I mean, I don't, just my personal opinion. I don't see how it gets much better than having a dad who's fighting actively to help Latino and Black culture. But would you do it all over again, Chuy? Would you pursue the same career? Would you, knowing that you're gonna have some wins, some losses, would you still want to do what you do?
I think so. I've asked myself what could be different if I had an opportunity to do it again. I don't know that I'd trade it for anything else. I wanted to be a baseball player when I grew up. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I didn't become a lawyer. I guess I could have, but I was driven by making a difference in the times that I was growing up in, to make social change and to make a contribution. And I believe that I got a chance to do that. So I can't say that I would trade it for something else. If I knew what I know today, I would just do it probably a little bit more measured, more balanced, and without as much of the passion that I think that I've had. But on the other hand, passion can inspire, can move people to do things. But there's nothing like balance, I think, in life and everything that you do. So don't be too emotional, and don't get emotionally encapsulated in everything that you do to the extent possible. I don't regret having run for mayor and coming up short, because I felt that if I didn't run, the Latino community in particular, progressives and the views that I represent, would not be considered or at the table. I have been tired of our community being taken for granted. I have been tired of our community being a spectator. I don't want us to be spectators. I want us to be actors, to be making a difference, to be on stage, to be in the limelight, to be debating, to be saying, what about us? And for leveraging our full essence to bring the types of resources that we need to develop and shape this country, shape our state, and shape our cities and neighborhoods as well.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about balance, because I feel like I'm at a stage in my life where I'm 18, I'm first year in college, I'm trying to figure out the type of man I want to be, and my morals, and finding a balance, I feel like, has been a really big lesson this year. I've always been known to kind of be too emotional or too invested in a way into baseball, and I take everything personal, and it would really mess with me when I was off the field, but this has been a big year. Even meeting they had the other day, they brought 2 Cubs players to New Life right here, and I got to talk with them, and I was just picking their brain, asking them about their journey. One of them went to a junior college just like me, so I was really talking to him. Shout out Luke Little. I was talking to him, and just kind of, they gave me an understanding that no matter how you perform in whatever you do in life, it shouldn't define you as a man, or it shouldn't define you as the type of person you are. So it's just funny that you brought that up, because I'm trying to figure that out myself right now, keeping a balance.
Yeah, I graduated when I was 18. I had a job at Brock's Candies in the hottest department in the factory, a candy maker, third shift. working with big dudes, grown men from Mississippi, from Italy, from Greece, from Mexico. And that's where I sort of feel that I became a man. That's the year I met my wife, as a matter of fact, and we've been married for 46 years. So I met her here in Little Village. We've lived here all of that time. We're a mixed marriage. She's Puerto Rican, I'm Mexican, so that wasn't supposed to happen back in those days. We weren't that good at coalition building yet, like today. But my wife has helped me keep some of that balance in life. I could have done it better, but I think our children will understand that what we did together, and the contributions and some of the breakthroughs that we helped bring about will speak for themselves in the future. So no regrets on that side of it.
Yeah. You brought up your wife a couple times. Why don't you tell us a little bit about her and, how she supports you, or just talk about, I want to hear about Mrs. Garcia.
Yeah, Evelyn Chinea is her maiden name.
Okay.
Moved here in to Little Village around 1974.
Mm-hmm.
From 55th Street, there was a Puerto Rican community there a long time ago. I met her in 1974. We got married at a very young age. We tell young people, don't try that. I was 21. She was 18 when we got married, but we worked it out. A lot of compromise, a lot of understanding and patience as well. She's been a part of everything that I've done. She's been involved in many struggles for immigrants' rights, for women's rights, very outspoken against domestic violence. She used to work at Mujeres Latinas en Acción. She used to work at Latino Youth, an alternative high school in the neighborhood here. So we're very rooted in community life. She was active, one of the founding members of the 22nd Ward Independent Political Organization, the longest running independent organization in politics in Chicago. Today, she was a precinct captain. She went toe-to-toe with the big goons in the old Chicago machine in the community here. So she has been wonderful. She's mentored a lot of people, a lot of young people, a lot of young women in particular. And of course, she keeps me on the straight path to being a good husband and a father and a grandfather. We have 7 grandchildren. I know she would want me to mention that, from our quinceañera, our oldest, to a 3-year-old at home. And of course, we have a 10-year-old grandson who lives with us as well. So we're still doing the parenting thing as well.
Yeah.
And all of this is only possible because she has been right at my side. Or I've been at her side, better said.
She's watching, right?
Yeah.
So you've told me a lot about yourself. I let you speak a little bit more at the beginning because I really wanted to know about you. I feel like I should share a little bit about myself.
Please.
So born and raised here in Little Village. Like I said, don't want to be anywhere else. I'm happy to be here. I want to help out my community and make a change here. I play baseball. The goal. I'm right now at community college, a top-ranked community college. So I'm trying to put up very good numbers and move on to a Division I. Right, play baseball. My dream. It's kind of funny. I think a lot, right? Like I dream. I wanna hit like a home run or like a double at the Division I level, pro level, and like I want to open my jersey.
Yeah.
Have a Little Village jersey under there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I feel it.
yeah. So growing up here, it's been hard, Chuy. Like me and my brother, we're a year apart. I'm older. We've witnessed, or we faced a lot of challenges. Not being able to go outside and play with our friends, or just be regular kids, right? And it's funny because I thought that was normal. I thought that's how you're supposed to live. And now that I'm out in the suburbs with my teammates and who are now my friends, or brothers actually, it's different how they live. They can do whatever they want out there. They don't have to look over their shoulder walking down the street. They can walk their dog. And me sharing my experiences with them they don't judge, but they're just kind of very, shocked and surprised that somebody had to grow up like that. And my teammate the other day actually said to me, he's like, I bet it's such a relief, to be out here and not have to worry about, getting checked or getting shot at or anything like that. And, it didn't rub me the wrong way, but it definitely pissed me off a little bit, because I feel like that's what kids here in Little Village should have the right to do, is to be a child, and I don't really believe I wouldn't have had a childhood if I didn't play baseball, if I didn't meet the founder of Urban Warriors, Ray, and Ernesto. Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at, but I feel like I'm lucky for that, and more kids should have that opportunity. And by me saying all this, public safety is a big concern in our community. I have a little sister at home right now who's in 6th grade, and as much as I love being here, I sometimes I wish we can move or even change the community quickly, because I want her to live normal and not have to worry about these type of things. What's something that you're doing at a federal level, because that's where you're at, to sort of type of change the ways of Little Village, or these public safety concerns?
Yeah, I'm the sponsor of a $10 billion proposal that seeks to provide jobs for young people, and jobs that would come with support services, wraparound services, so that you can give a young person a job to ensure that he or she is successful. You got to make sure that they have money to get on the bus, to get to work, to get home from school. If they have health issues, you need to make sure that there is support for them. If kids became parents too soon and may have a child that was born to a teen mom, you need to provide that type of support. You need to provide mental health support for young people who have issues at home, domestic violence issues, or other mental health needs that they may need. So I've been a champion on that front. It was growing up in this neighborhood and doing the type of nonprofit work that I've done and violence prevention work that has informed that. I'm also working to bring violence prevention investment into cities from the White House, from Congress as well, and working with legislators from other cities to invest in this area so that we reduce the level of shootings in Little Village and Gage Park and Brighton Park, North Lawndale, in Austin, in Chicago, other neighborhoods as well. So working citywide is also important. We passed a modest piece of legislation regarding access to guns and the proliferation of guns into Illinois and into Chicago. Guns are trafficked here from neighboring states. So even though Illinois has pretty tough and Chicago has tough gun laws, guns flow in freely to Chicago, including access to weapons of war, automatic armaments that more and more younger people are using. So the legislation, the Safer Communities Act, Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, is one small step. We're seeking to increase that type of legislation to stem the flow of guns into the community. We're working to make the child tax credit something permanent. It's important for families and for poor families, working families, to receive that tax credit, because that program that we instituted during the pandemic lifted more children out of poverty in the last 50 years in America. We want to make it permanent so that more working and poor families can have more income to raise their children in. Kids who are raised in poverty have a greater propensity to be involved in gangs, in violence, than children who are better off economically. So we are approaching the condition of children youth and families in a systemic way. And those are some of the public policies that I'm pursuing to try to improve the quality of life here, because I know what it's like to grow up here, not having the resources or opportunities that other children, other youth have in other communities. That's what I mean when I talk about improving the quality of life so that young people can grow up healthy, safe, and inspired to continue excelling in life.
I I mean, you work at a federal level, but like I try to do my part, right? Whether that's having friends who aren't really involved in the community, and when we had a toy drive for Christmas, I brought a couple of my friends who really never thought about, actively engaging in our community. And I brought them down to volunteer, and now they're interested in doing more, and they're bringing friends. I try to control the music that I listen to around, my younger cousins, my sister, even my brother, because I strongly believe a lot of it does stem from music at the beginning. Like a lot of rap tends to glorify the street life, or some things like, I don't want to get too into it, but, what is some advice you would give me or to other young people in these communities that you were talking about, like Little Village, Brighton Park, Gage Park? How can we help, and how can we sort of take a stand against this violence out here?
I think working with the organizations in the community that see violence as a public health issue is really critical. Those individuals and leaders have made a difference in bringing about police reform, police accountability. The George Floyd murder that was put on full display, the brutality, the cruelty, I think has had an impact on what's wrong, how this investment breeds violence and chaos in communities. The death of Adam Toledo was another, I think, important experience, a tragedy that mobilized the community and forced all of us to think about how we have failed Adam Toledo and how we have failed other young people who have been victims, if not killed like he was, being shortchanged, being deprived of a good, healthy life experience without violence, without fear, without scarcity of nourishment, scarcity of entertainment, sports, other things that enhance your life. Everyone should have access to those things, and the work that's being done in this community, in those other communities as well, because there are groups like Urban Warriors, groups who care about young people and families working in those communities to improve them. That will help and produce public policies that will bring more investment to improve the lot of lives for people in communities like the ones we just mentioned.
So I don't know how often you have, again, we spoke about how busy you are. How often do you have to sort of look back at your life and all of your accomplishments and sort of take it all in and be like, yeah, I did that. Like I made my dream or my goals like a reality. How does that feel looking back? What does that mean to, little Chuy who grew up in Durango, like, be like, hey, like sitting here like I made it? Because in my eyes, you're someone who's made it. You've made a difference. I can care less about your losses. I mean, because you have so many victories. I mean, the community's changed so many ways just because I doing my research for this, I didn't even know that you like founded it in Lhasa, and it's a program that I was a part of when I was younger, and it's like you're impacting kids that you don't know, or that you know what I mean? Like you've made so much change, and it's like my biggest thing in life is when I'm gone, or when it's all said and done, I want people to remember me that, I'm a handsome, buff guy or whatever, a good baseball player, but I want to leave an impact like, hey, these like that. He was a good guy. He helped inspire me. I want to make change, you know. And how does that feel looking back? Like you've done it.
Yeah, I feel good about some of the breakthroughs that we've had, being the first in several respects. The first in my family to go to college. Everything begins at home, and how that is inspiring my nieces and my nephews and my grandchildren. That's important. Being the first alderman Mexicano here in the neighborhood, I'm proud of that as well. But then reality is, I'm brought back to reality when I turn on the news at 6 in the morning and I see how many young people were shot or killed overnight on any weeknight or weekend in Chicago. And to me, that's heartbreaking, and that's a reminder of how much more we've got to do. I feel good. I hope my grandchildren will as well. Being the first immigrant, the first Mexicano elected from the Midwest to the U.S. Congress, there's pride in that. But there's also responsibility. And this is what I think about when I'm flying from Midway Airport to Washington, D.C., or coming from D.C. back to Chicago at Midway. I see the neighborhoods that I represent in the U.S. Congress. When I'm out in suburban communities that are a part of my district, I think about them, and I think about, what's the experience, what's the quality of education when kids are going to school, and how are they growing up? How much better off are they than when I was in high school or starting in college as well? So these are all reminders of the work at hand and why we have to keep striving, why we have to keep getting up early, why we've got to stay up sometimes a little later at night, not partying, but thinking about these issues and about how we can make a difference as well. So it remains a work in progress. There, isn't that much time to rest on our laurels. And I think we always have to ask ourselves, who's got the new cutting edge idea for improving the quality of life? How do we advance everyone in our community so that they can have a better life as well? And how do we ensure that everyone is experiencing a little more justice in our time and in our day, each and every day? I think that's how you stay sharp. Just like, you want to be able to pitch, hit, and run to the best of your ability. Same thing in pursuing public life. You have to measure it by how better off people might be.
So I've asked you a lot of serious questions. I'd like to, wrap up with a little rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Best food spot in Little Village.
Man, it's a tough one, but rapid. Nuevo Leon.
Okay. One celebrity you like to have dinner with?
Carlos Santana.
I like that. Which book or movie impacted you the most growing up?
Occupied America by Rudy Acuna.
What's your biggest irrational fear?
Irrational. Stumbling in a nationally televised interview.
That's funny. And then one piece of advice you like to share with young people?
You don't have to be the smartest or highest scoring test taker. I wasn't the best student. in high school or in college, but I had other abilities, like my ability to speak Spanish, my knowledge of being streetwise, my ability to talk with paisanos and guys running the streets, that I think has enabled me to bring the community together in different ways for important advances. So it's not the leading intellectual that will become an effective leader or organizer or troublemaker, good troublemaker.
Thank you, Chuy. I appreciate the conversation. Something I like to do on the show is sort of just give a takeaway or something that I've learned, or just something that I acknowledge or appreciate about you. One, first and foremost, I'm grateful for you coming and speaking with me today, because you didn't really have to, so I appreciate that. But
You're welcome.
I'm just thank you for all you've done. Right, you're such a big staple in the Latino culture and the Latino communities. Like, I remember we were trying to get you for a couple months, and it's like we really wanted you. I really wanted you here because I just wanted to pick your brain and to see how somebody who's done it actually thinks and approaches and goes about things. You're a leader, and just continue being a leader. And I'm gonna try to work hard, and hopefully one day we can work together and just change the little village and other communities like it for the better, because we deserve better.
Thank you, George. It's great to converse with you. Thank you for not being afraid of the microphone or the camera.
No.
Real important.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a communicator, and thank you for stepping up. And to urban warriors, I sense that big, great things lie ahead for the mission of the organization, breaking through for young people and families. And this is all good stuff.
So,
And if there's a heaven, which I think there is, you all will have a good place.
Thank you.
Thank you.